Welcome to Get Your Bell Rung. I am your host, KG, and with me is by Robin to Batman, Mark.
Shouldn't have ever brought that up.
You should have never brought that up. What's up, man?
Not much, buddy. You?
Oh, just got done doing a very interesting interview with the original Sunny girl from California. She's from Glow. Guys, check that out. Such a fascinating woman. She has a great story. Even with doing the research I did, she brought some things up that I didn't know that was mind blowing. It really was. Guys, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. I have a goal to get in the next 3 to 4 months 1,000 subscribers. I need 1,000 subscribers. I'm close to 200. So please click that subscribe button. I really appreciate it. We are doing our Thursday night recap of Wednesday night Dynamite. Um, the show was okay. I didn't hate it. I wouldn't say I loved it. It was just okay.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was really good, to be honest. You know,
Yeah. Um,
I think it's better than it has
we
been.
right. No, I agree. It wasn't as good as last week, but last week was a very special AEW with it being in Mexico. Last week was very much like a pay per view. It really was, and maybe that's why I say I think it was only good. I didn't love it. It's because I was comparing it to last week.
See,
So
now,
since you brought that up, if I compare it to the normal dynamites they've been having, yeah, I agree with you. It was very enjoyable and it was much better than what normally it has been.
I didn't enjoy last week as much because I didn't think it furthered any storyline really. You know, and
Yeah, but we go ahead.
unless you follow CMLL, I didn't know. Probably a third of the people out there.
Right, but we were still exposed to some really great wrestling matches
Oh
that
yeah, no,
otherwise
no,
we
I'm not
wouldn't
going
have
to take
seen.
away from that.
So,
I mean, that first match was just action packed. You know,
yep.
and, and,
And
and
I think go ahead.
And the fact that I can remember last week's match, it's impressive.
I think what really took away from last night for me was the main event, and we'll get into it, and I'll tell you why once we get into it.
All right, fair enough. So we open with Tony Storm coming backstage, and Monet attacks her. And to be honest, I was throwing a little bit. I thought it was a recap of Collision last week. I missed Collision,
Hmm.
but no, it was last night's show, um, which leads me to believe that Tony Storm's going to retain her title, which will be shocking if she does. To be honest. Just because of the beatdown she took last night. Mina Shavir came out to help or to basically back Monet off. And
Right.
then we cut away from that.
Yeah. So I really hope Tony Storm retains her title because they're getting carried away with Monet with the amount of titles that she's carrying. And I mean, when does she defend these titles? She walks around with all these titles, but we don't ever see her defend these titles. And I get it. A lot of the titles that she has obviously is not AEW titles, and she goes defends it in other places, other countries. But still, I don't know. To me, it's just they've gotten a little ridiculous with letting her carry the titles that she's carrying.
Well, somebody thinks she's a moneymaker, and I just don't see it. Now, granted, her performance in the ring has improved greatly. I just don't see her being a draw. I don't.
Yeah,
And
I think that she might be even a bigger draw in other promotions out the country, possibly. But I agree with you. At least here in the States, she's good. She's decent on the mic, but is she? Well, she has 4 or 5 titles.
I think
Um,
5.
I- 5. Yeah, I don't think she's 4 or 5 titles good. I just don't.
Yeah, no, yeah, she might be a draw in Japan, Mexico, or wherever else. I don't know. Um, on the mic, I think she's, for lack of term, dynamite almost.
Hmm.
But I just don't, I just can't get invested in her, to be honest. I'm
Yeah,
not going to
and
take
no,
away
for
any of her ability or credit, but
right, and for a minute, Mark, I really thought that they were going to turn her babyface because, man, a couple of months ago, she was starting to get pop. A pops my fans when she came out, and I'm like, shit. She's gaining popularity. I foresee her being a babyface, but it seemed like those cheers went right back to being boos. So,
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. So anyway, nonetheless, I do kind of look forward to this match, to be honest. Um,
oh
I think it'll
yeah,
be a decent match. More so because I like Tony Storm. Um, but even her character is kind of wearing thin on me. You know,
yeah,
she's definitely
uh,
better on the mic than anything else. I mean, you can't anticipate what she's going to do or say. You know,
right,
but her in
right,
ring ability is good too. I think. But
yeah. I
if I have to watch her
go ahead.
wrestle or do an interview, I'd rather watch an interview. To be honest.
Yeah, I think that one reason why I'm really looking forward to this match is because it's not just for Tony Storm's title. Um, Monet, her undefeated streak is on the line as well.
True.
So by the end of this match, we're going to either see Tony Storm drop the title to Monet or Monet finally getting beat. And how long she's been with AEW? A year now,
Oh, a little over a year.
a little bit over a year. And the fact that she's going undefeated.
Yeah, but it's
So
not like
yeah,
it's not like it's 100-0. It's like 15-0.
I know it's like 30 something and oh. I get that, but because of the way she's booked as kind of this unstoppable force, this belt collector, if you will, um, her streak means something. At least to me, it does. It's intriguing to me. So that kind of makes the match a little bit more exciting for me because of the fact that it's Tony Storm's, yeah, her Tony's title, and it is Monet's winning streak on the line.
They should probably mention that more on air, to be honest.
I agree.
So,
I agree.
all right. So next we go to the Bucks. I guess using their EVP privileges, and they bumped Swerve and Osprey's match from the second hour into the first hour, and then you pretty much see Osprey and Swerve run to the ring, rush to the ring, finish getting ready or whatever for their match against Lee Johnson and Blake Christensen.
Yep.
Um, you know, I, it's scripted, so I mean, you knew this was going to happen, or they knew they had this in the works already. So I thought that was kind of unnecessary, but it's kind of like an added touch too. I don't know. The match itself, I thought was really good, and to be honest, I couldn't tell you who made who look better. I think the young guys made the veterans look good, and I think the veterans made the young guys look good. To be honest, so I
Yeah.
thought it was a
Yeah.
really good match. To be fair.
Right. So when the Bucks came out and they announced that they had the match now, okay, fine. Like you said, it added that little bit of drama to it. That's cool. Um, but it's not like Swerve and Osprey were coming out and fighting a team that was like, holy shit, they got to fight this team, right now instead of being able to prepare for it mentally.
Right.
Nonetheless, it happened. It was good. It was a good match, like you said. What bothered me was after the match when it everything all boiled down to Osprey and Swerve challenging the Bucks at All In, and the Bucks EVP status would be online. The reason why I rolled my eyes at this was because of the way the Bucks reacted to it. To me, it was dumb the way they reacted. they got all pissed off and huffing and puffing and what the fuck you can't do. And I'm like, as the EVPs, your reaction should have been laughing at these guys saying, yeah, right, like we're gonna do that, good try, buddies. We don't have to accept that. We are the EVPs, right? Instead, they went the whole dramatic way. Um, and it made it dumb when they did that for myself. It would have been better if they would have reacted by laughing, basically telling them to F off, and then maybe next week, Osprey and Swerve attack the Bucks it pissed them off to the point that they accept the challenge. It's just the
Well,
way they did it last night, it made it seem dumb.
well, here's what I take out of it. All right. One, the Bucks look like their beards are painted on. And two, from the neck down, they look like 12-year-old prepubescent boys. All right.
Yeah, especially when you're seeing them next to at the end of the show when you see them next to the Death Riders.
Yeah.
I mean, even Moxley made them look small.
Yeah.
Moxley, and Moxley's not that big.
No, he's not actually. God damn it. There's something else I was going to say about this too. Oh, so what happens if they lose their EVPs or Swerve and Osprey become EVPs?
Swerve
That'd
and
be
Osprey become
interesting.
EVPs.
That'd be awesome. I think that'd be a great kick in the pants.
Right. The idea of it's fine. It's the delivery of getting there that was dumb to me because of the fact that you guys are the EVPs and your reaction is like you're being forced to do a match that you really don't want to. Again, they could have, it would have been better, in my opinion, at least, if they would have laughed at Osprey and Swerve and said, yeah, right, and walked away only to get jumped later in the night or next week, whenever Osprey for jumping them and kind of forcing them into the match now because they're so pissed off. They manipulated the Bucks into saying yes.
Yeah, they should have held off a week, I guess. All right, well, that leads us into the next part where the Bucks, Okada, and the Callis group are in the back. Well, part of the Callis group. Rocky Romero, Brett, or Trent Beretta,
Trent Beretta,
and damn, what the hell's his name? Takeshita? Yeah.
Kateshita. Yep. Yep.
They pretty much come to an agreement that they can all get along except for Don Callis is a dick. I got to chuckle. Yeah, you guys are cool, but your boss is kind of a dick.
Right.
So, anyways, Trent says he's going to take care of one of the Golden Lovers. I forget his name too. Sorry. So just watch him. But then it looks like Takeshita and Okada have a little
The
beef.
Rainmaker.
They got like a storyline behind them in Japan.
Well, let's remember that the Rainmaker's brand new. Let's also remember um who beat Kateshita Katesha for the title, which was Kenny Omega, right? So now you have Kenny Omega going against the Rainmaker to unify those titles. But again, it was Katesha who had the title to begin with before he lost it to Kenny Omega. So in Katesha's view, he's saying, this is my title. So once you win, I want my title back, type of a thing. So I
Yeah,
definitely think that there's going to be some tension. I actually think that this is the beginning of them planting seeds to Katesha actually turning
turning.
in babyface and getting into a feud with the Rainmaker.
Yeah, could be.
Because I
Uh,
think that the Rainmaker, well, it depends. In order for this to happen, the Rainmaker, Rainmaker has to actually have to win that match against Kenny Omega. The question is do we think that Kenny Omega is going to drop the title to the Rainmaker?
I don't think so, to be honest. You know, it's hard to say.
No,
I
I
mean,
don't either.
it's a 50-50 call at this point, in my opinion. Of course, that's if Kenny Omega's able to wrestle.
Well,
So,
right, but let's not also forget that Omega is one of the
EVPs.
EVPs, right? So if he wants to keep that title, he's going to keep that title. So it
Yep.
all really depends on if Tony wants, if Kenny wants to drop the title or not.
Yep. Kata, that's his name. Kata versus Trent
Yep,
Beretta.
yep,
This was a decent match too. To be honest, I enjoyed it. I worry about Trent because he's had two neck surgeries now, and I think this guy's going to end up just paralyzing himself. To be honest, I think Taz says he's got like 1,100 matches. That's great. But dude, it might be time to hang it up before you can't walk.
yep. So let me ask you a question: do you prefer Trip Beretta now, or do you prefer him back whenever the best friends were around?
When they were in Ring of Honor, I really didn't care for him because I thought it was just too cheesy. When they came to
Mhm.
AEW, I kind of enjoyed it a little bit. But I think Trent is a hell of a talent. I truly do, and I think he's been underutilized in a lot of promotions. Um, I like him now, I guess more, but I still think he's underutilized.
Right, right. Yeah,
So
yep, I agree. Rocky Romero, man, he's someone else that is man, he's underrated because he's really good himself.
yeah, but he's one of them demon Lincoln sized guys that has all the talent, but just doesn't have enough size and height to him. So they'll never.
Right,
Well, I don't know because other parts of the world he's done very well. Japan, Mexico, he's done
right,
very well. But I mean, how many 6'6" Mexicans you see too? You know, I mean,
yeah,
Mexico's not dominated with 6'4" guys, 260 pounds. So
right,
Romero fits into a lot of that, and same with Japan too. You know,
right,
so
right,
it's just America. We want them 6'4", 245, 250 pound guys. They're just beefy.
right,
We've been
right.
McMahonized. You know,
Yep, that's for
so.
damn sure.
Right. So it's a hard adjustment for us to go to these guys that are 212 pounds. Um,
Right.
and that can
Yep.
do all these flip flops. So, all right. So next we go to Mox with the rant on Page. I really tune out when Mox is talking because it's a lot of gibberish. Unless you follow every
Well,
word he says, you get lost
mhm.
in the shuffle.
I actually like this interview that he did or this promo he cut. What I really like at the end of the promo, and I don't know why I like this so much, but the very last thing he said was that to Hangman Adam Page was that you better start looking for another job.
Yeah, I did catch
And
that.
what I like about that is how can I explain this? It In professional wrestling, you almost think about these guys living in this own little world, right? This professional wrestling world. Um, and what Moxie did last night was made fans realize if they're paying attention that this is just a job, right? And if you can't perform your job and you can't be successful, you better start looking for another job somewhere else. I don't know. I really liked when he said that for some reason. I don't know. It was one of those things. I'm like, oh, I really like that.
Hmm. So let me ask you: Is Paige going to beat Mox?
Man, I don't know right now. It needs to happen because I agree with you. Mox has gotten so stale. Um, but I really don't know. Are we going to look? I think MJF is going to win the gauntlet, the whatever they call it, the
Casino Battle
heavy
Royal.
at yeah, Casino Battle Royal. I think he's going to win that. And we later on the show we'll talk about it. We heard Moxley. I mean, uh,
MJF.
MJF. called Moxley a dictator, and then he said what he said against crooked Hangman Adam Page. I think it's a matter of if Tony Khan and creative do their job correctly, what's going to draw more money? Seeing MJF against Mox or seeing MJF against Heyman Adam Page? And the same question could be asked too, as far as who's going to put more ass in seats by having that title? Is it going to be Mox or is it going to be Hangman Page? Unfortunately, we know what we seen last time Hangman had that title. He didn't make a good champion. He's always been better at chasing that title. So I don't know.
Yeah, but it's not the same Adam Page as it was. You know, he was that face, and everybody loved
Right,
him. Now he's walking that anti-hero line, and
right,
you know, where he could be your buddy, but he can drop you with a buckshot lariat, in the
right.
same breath. So I don't know. It's a tough call too. So all right. So next we go to Air Fox interview. Ricochet comes in, offers him, partnership because he's looking for a crew. This is getting kind of old too, to be honest. Um, but if it's what it needs to be, keep Ricochet relevant, then so be it. Um, he wants Air Fox team with them against Speedball and Kevin Knight, which they call himself Jet Speed. I don't know if that should go down as one of the hokiest
They
names I've
just
ever heard.
gave me they gave me another reason why I don't like them. Dumbass name.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So,
I like
anyways,
Kevin Knight. It's speedball that I just can't stand.
yeah, I do too, but I can't get behind Speedball being an intimidating factor.
Right,
Uh,
right.
I guess I'd like to see him do a heel run, to be honest.
Yeah,
I don't know if that
yeah,
improve his
yeah.
standings or not, but I'd like to see him come in and do some cheap shots, and you know, he just seems too much of like the boy next door, and your college frat boy or something. I don't know. I just
Yeah, and
speaking
he's
of that,
good in the ring.
oh, he's
He's
phenomenal in the ring.
right. It's just don't like him.
Speaking of
But
that, wasn't
speaking of
there
that,
some sort of frat boy group that was on AEW like 4 or 5 weeks ago, and where are they now?
yeah, and um, yes, because unfortunately, one of them was Gareth,
Garrett, yeah,
who, yep, and I remember seeing it, and I'm like, why are they doing this to this kid, man? This kid is so talented, and they've just wasted
yep.
him away. But yeah, then you don't see him. I don't know if they're with ROH. Don't know,
All right. Well, anyways, the
but
match with Ricochet and AR Fox against Jet Speed. I almost said Jet Ski. uh, Somewhere along the match, AR Fox and Ricochet had a mishap or something. And Ricochet walked away, and AR Fox took the pin.
I tell you what, man, I love AR Fox. He is
Yep.
so damn good. I get it. He's at the point of his career because he's been doing it for so long that his job's mainly to build up that young talent, make them look strong. But at the same time, I would really like to see him have at least one successful run in AEW.
Yep. Yep. No, he's
He is
phenomenal.
just so good.
Yep, he is. I was in. I had very limited exposure to him before AEW. Um, but when they signed him, I was really happy because he's such a talent, such a talent.
Yeah.
So, anyways, Jet Speed calls out the Heart Syndicate basically, and they come out and whoop their ass. Um, so then the Heart. No, I didn't see Shelton Benjamin last night. Did I miss him?
Yeah, he was there.
Oh, okay. I fell asleep during, so I had to rewatch it, part of it today. But, um, anyways, they're looking for a challenge, and it ain't Jet Speed, I guess. MJF gets on the mic. He does his normal rant and rave and whatnot. You know, it's always a joy when MJF gets a mic.
Yeah, yep.
Anyways, he says he claims he's entering the Casino Battle Royal. Mark Briscoe comes out, kind of gives him a little bit of shit. Said he had a kosher weenie or something.
Yeah. I don't know if you noticed or not, but when he said that MJF had a kosher pickle,
That's it.
and he was overcompensating, so he understands why MJF wanted to hang around the guys he's hanging around with. I don't know if you see this in the background, but Bobby Lashley started busting out laughing when he said that. It that made me laugh even harder when I seen Lashley just kind of big old smile on his face
I don't know. If some
when Briscoe said this.
if someone said I had a kosher pickle and want to hang around men that are more well endowed, I don't think I'd want to hang around with men that are more well endowed just to rub it in my face that they're more well endowed. But that's just me. Maybe I'm insecure. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. It was
Uh,
yeah, I liked it. eh, MJF is slowly starting to become the MJF before he left to go make a movie. Because since he's been back, as much as I like MJF, it's
he's,
been a little boring what he had
he's
been doing.
he's been flat.
Yep. But last night I'm like, okay, hopefully this is MJF being back. Because I'm like you. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. When I see MJF come on my screen with a mic in his hand, I stop and I listen.
Right. Because like Tony Storm, you don't know what he's going to say next. You know,
Right.
because like Tony Storm, he has absolutely no filter. She does it. She does it with a dirty, perverted innuendo, but he just has no
Right.
filter whatsoever, and he'll say whatever he wants. You know,
Yep.
and so yeah, you watch him just, and he's great in the ring. You know, he's had phenomenal matches. You know,
Yep.
with Chris Jericho, with Daniel Bryan, Adam Page. He's had phenomenal matches. You
Yep.
know,
Yep.
but
I personally think that, at least for myself, my favorite match thus far has been between him. It's actually my favorite feud. Period. Was him and CM Punk. I mean, those two kind of promos to one another was just great, 100% great. And I like the build up to the matches. I mean, he beat the shit out of CM Punk. Uh, in a couple of those, pre feuds before the match happened. But yeah, you're right. He's had some phenomenal matches. I can't really say that I've ever seen him in a match that I consider bad.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. You know, and looking back, you want him to have bad matches just because you didn't like him, but the kid pulls out some good matches, and he's only what, 26, 27.
Yep,
You
yep.
know,
Look, I've always I'm a heel guy, so I've always liked MJF. I don't, not trying to compare anybody to the talent, in WWE, but I personally think that MJF, for the most part, has been the top heel in professional wrestling, period, for the past couple of years. For the most part, he had a little bit of a down, but yeah,
I'd say before last year, or last year and before, yeah, the first 3 years,
yep,
easily, easily. You know, I
right,
mean, and here's
right.
a
Like
guy
I
that
said, he went through that down. He went through that downtime, like I said, but now he's getting back up. So
yep. And I think initially they were questioning whether they should have signed him or not. And I think he was at the high point of their highest point, to be honest.
right,
So
yeah. Honestly, I would almost be scared for MJF to go to WWE just because,
they'd ruin him.
you know, right? Because WWE is such a PG program, even on Netflix. I mean, fuck. Goldberg dropped the F bomb during that interview, and they had to bleep it out, and it's on Netflix.
Right.
Um, MJF, he needs to be somewhere that they're going to allow him to be him. Obviously, they bleep when he drops the F bombs on TBS, which is understandable. It's TBS, but you still know he said it.
Right.
Um, I don't think WWE would allow MJF to be MJF. They would water him down,
Right. I think that's what they're doing with Ricky Saints. Ricky
right?
Saints is
And
great on the mic too.
right. And matter of fact, I think this down period that we're talking about that MJF had since he's been back, including cutting promos. I think the reason why it was that downtown we was getting a watered down MJF until lately for some reason.
Yeah.
Um, so
I don't know. Maybe they were told to rein it in a little bit. Who knows? So next we go to the match, Casino Battle Royal entrance match or whatever. Bandito versus Roderick Strong versus Briscoe versus Kenosha. This was actually a good match too. I enjoyed this match. Briscoe picks up the win, which I was kind of surprised to be honest. Not that I thought Bandito or Roderick Strong would win, but I thought Kenosha would win.
yeah,
Um,
so I would have been surprised that that he won, but they do what WWE does at times as well, and it annoys me, which is kind of hinted that he was going to win because during that promo with MJF, they said it a few times that Briscoe's gonna go out and do what Briscoe does, which is lose. And because they emphasized that so much during that promo, the previous promo, that led me to believe that Briscoe was going to indeed win.
Fair enough. Next, we go backstage with Adam Cole. He's challenging the Don Callis family as an open challenge for next week for anybody in Don Callis's faction to face
Not
him.
next week. Not next week. Tonight.
Oh, that's right, on Collision. Sorry, I forgot Collision is tonight.
Yep.
Um, I better watch that tonight, huh? Um,
And
anyways,
by the way, and real quick, Mark, and not just to you, but to everyone else, because you had mentioned that how you missed it. Just to let you know that on Max, um, after the live event, they do the replay back on Max, and it stays up there. It doesn't, you don't have a certain amount of time that you have to watch it. It is up there permanently.
oh, I didn't
So
restart
if
it
you miss
on Max.
Collision, yeah, if you go to Collision, you can. If you miss the product TBS, you can go to Max and watch the replay.
Yeah, because it wasn't there the next day because I didn't start it. So, but
Yeah.
that's I mean I'll thank you. I appreciate that. I know better now. All right, so next we go to a women's four way: Willow, Athena, Statlander, and Thunder Rosa. This match was decent. I'm not going to sit there and say different. I just kind of expected more and didn't get it. Willow picks up the win.
Yeah.
Uh,
That
good.
was an excellent bump that Death Rider guy, what's his name? The smallest one.
Yuta?
Yeah, that Yuta took uh in that match because they tried to interfere. Death Riders tried to interfere in that match. Um Now this is my complaint. It's not about the match really, but it's about who was in the match, which was Statlander. Man, it's like they don't know what to do with her. Should we make her heel? Should we keep her a baby face? Or should she be a baby face? Should she go back to being a heel? I'm like, make up your fucking mind what you want to do with her. Because now it seems like then they've been planting the seeds that Statlander's going to join the Death Riders, which means that now they're going to have two of these big women on. Are we going to wind up seeing one of them turn on one of their female talents? or they can have both of them. The last thing I want to see is them add to the Death Riders because I really want this to be done with. It's just it's never really been over to begin with, and I'm tired of them.
Well, when they were the BBC or whatever they were,
Right.
with Regal, I was
Yep.
all for it. I was all for it because William
Yep.
Regal is just a rock star, But once
Yep.
Regal left and they changed their name, you know, and then what's this with Nick, whatever his name is? Where's he been? Pac should be back from injury. Where's he been? Speaking of that, this is what irritates me is you have a 2 week streak and then you're gone. Megan Bain, where's she been for 2 weeks? Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara, where have they been for 2-3 weeks
Oh,
now?
they're mainly on ROH.
Well, then they need to use Collision for ROH, in my opinion. You know,
Yeah.
so
Yep.
anyways, Willow ends up taking the win, which surprised me because I really thought that maybe Athena or Statlander would have took it, but such is life. Next, we go to FDR in an interview. Wants to clear the air with the Outrunners. There's another group where they've been for the last month and a half, 2 months.
Don't
They had
know.
a
Don't
run in.
care.
I like the Outrunners. I know you don't, but I like them. They're cheesy enough for me, I guess. They're supposed to have some sort of get together tonight, I guess, on Collision. So
Yep.
then we end up with Page versus Mortis, which I don't know how anybody would see this as a
Okay.
main event. I like Mortis, but he's not a main event guy. You
Now
know.
here's a question: the Beast Mortis has been mostly a mid carder since he's been there. Correct.
Yep. Yep.
Now all of a sudden, now that he's dating Monet, now we're starting to see him be in the upper tier of the mid cards. To now, all of a sudden, he's a main event.
Right.
And why? What is the heat between Page and the Beast Mortis, with the exception of maybe that one run in? It's like they just threw it together for the main event. This was not a main event worthy match in any sense of the way. This wasn't even good enough to be an opening match, to be honest with you.
Right.
Um, yeah,
That's the thing with
I don't know, man.
AEW lately. Their opening matches are better than their main events.
Right.
This is like the third week in a row that their opening match was a lot better than their main event. So,
Yep.
anyways,
Well,
Paige gets the win. Oh, good.
I say you have them doing that. They just put together this main event with Mortis and Page in it, right? Something else there they seems like they keep on doing is just throwing people together for a tag team match. Single wrestlers, they throw together for a tag team match for a one-off. It doesn't make sense. It's stupid little shit like this that turns me off to AEW.
Yeah. All right. Paige gets the win. Lights go out. Young Bucks show up, attack Paige. Death Riders come out to add insult to injury. The Ops come out. Then Osprey comes out. Looked like Osprey and Mox were going to go at it, but it didn't happen.
So let me tear this shit to pieces now. Number one, number one, AEW needs to fucking stop with the lights turning out for every goddamn thing. Anytime a heel's running out now, the lights go out. Why? For the lights to go out, that should be something special for a certain faction, kind of like the Wyatt Sick when that happened, or the Undertaker. You know what I'm saying? It was for somebody specific, not
Yep.
all the time. And God knows that the Young Bucks are not this team that is so threatening that the lights have to go out for them to come out. That's number one. Number two, why in the fuck did they have Samoa Joe and the rest of his crew, the ops, right? They were prevented from coming inside of the ring by the Young Bucks, even when Joe had the chair. But all of a sudden, tiny ass little Will Ospreay can instantly get inside the ring. Why? It just doesn't make sense. That was dumb. You mean to tell me that you could, you are such a badass. The Bucks are such a badass. Willie Ulu is such a badass that they're able to keep Samoa Joe out of the ring, but yet Will Ospreay get you see what I'm saying? It no sense, none. It was dumb. That made it dumb.
I don't know. I don't know. Overall, I give the show probably a B minus, and I'm being generous, probably. But I am kind of a mark for AEW. You know,
I love AEW as well. The most of the matches were fine last night. I'll go with a B minus as well. But I just want them to get their shit together, man. This roller coaster of you have two good, you have Dynamite really good back to back for a couple of weeks, and then all of a sudden it's terrible. Do you have a really good one to just a good one, and then it's back to being bad? Like we need consistency within AEW
you know, I
badly.
will say the nice thing is it seems like their crowds are increasing, but their uh, their venues are still small. You know, but it's
Hmm.
you don't see as many empty seats. So I think that's a plus. But what's the status on Texas All Out? You know what kind of sales they got on that finally?
I think it's all in, isn't it?
Yeah, all in. Sorry.
Yeah. I haven't checked lately. I know that last time I had looked, I think they had only sold about 10,000.
I'm sorry, you blinked out. What?
Oh, I last time I looked at it, I think they had only sold 10,000.
Well, still that isn't half
So,
bad, but that stadium holds what 50,000.
well,
It's
that's what I'm
gonna
saying.
it's
It
gonna look pretty
right.
meager.
10,000 is a decent crowd if you're in a smaller venue, but when you're in a arena that holds 50,000, 10,000, man, you know,
You just
that's
got
only
better seats.
what a quarter. Yeah, like I guess.
You just got
I guess.
you aren't nosebleeds anymore. You've been upgraded.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean,
They'll pull out some marketing stuff. They'll end up getting probably 15 to 20 maybe, but they're gonna have to do
what
some
they'll
pretty.
probably do, what they'll probably do is the same thing they do in Australia. They started doing 2 for 1.
Yep, yep. And I
You know.
think Texas is a big enough state where you can gather enough. But they are gonna have to do some last minute marketing to beef that up. So
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you. If AEW was coming near us, in Minnesota for a pay per view event, I would pay to go to see them live because their pay per views always good. I
yep,
don't, you know, uh, the worst pay per view they had. I can't remember which one it was. It wasn't that it was even bad. It was just it was okay because
yeah.
normally their pay per views we consider doing great pay per views. So going from great to okay is a little bit of a downward shift, but it was still fine to watch. But for the most part, they always have really good pay per views. So I wouldn't
I
have a
know.
problem going and watch their pay per views live.
I think I'd rather watch for action. I'd rather watch AEW pay per view than a WWE pay per view. Now for
Right,
the show part of it, WWE still beats their ass. You know,
right, right.
but I mean, as far as action, AEW's got it
Yep,
always,
yep.
always on a pay per view.
Now, yeah. Now I tell you, I'll be honest with you though. I always prefer to. It doesn't matter if if it's a weekly show, a PLE, or a pay per view. I I almost always prefer to watch it from home just because color commentary for myself has always been part of the show. So when you're there live, you don't have that color commentary. it always feels like something's missing for me,
Yep.
right?
No,
So
it
I've
adds.
always enjoyed it.
It's that cherry on top.
Right,
You know.
right.
So,
Yep,
no, you're absolutely
yep.
right. I've been to live shows, and yeah, you get caught up in the excitement and whatnot of the crowd and whatnot. Um, but yeah, being at home, you get that, you know, and it's no different than any other sport. You know, commentary in baseball, hockey, basketball. You know, it adds that little bit more to it. You know, so it doesn't matter what sport it is. You know, uh, you know, the Indy 500, whatever. I don't know how anybody can commentate on cars going around a track, but it adds a little bit to it. I can't personally watch race
Yeah.
cars, but that's
The
just me.
the only sport that I don't think color commentary really adds to it is bowling. But then again, I wouldn't even go watch bowling because I
Right.
mean, I don't I've never, why do you even need color commentary for bowling? They pick up the ball and now they're pushing it.
Right,
You
right,
don't throw
right. And remember, that's the one sport you don't throw the ball onto the crowd.
it. Right. But yeah, guys, that pretty much wraps up the recap for AEW Dynamite. Mark and I both gave it a B minus. Uh, I'm gonna watch Collision tonight, see what happens on Collision. Collision has almost been a little better than Dynamite here lately, to be honest with you.
I don't know. I'm just enough of a mark that I'll watch it regardless.
Right,
So
right.
so
Now Friday night SmackDown, I'm interested in seeing is going to be in Saudi, and of course the PLE, WWE's PLE Night of Champions is this Saturday live in Saudi as well. We've already talked about the predictions, our predictions. So there's nothing really much more to talk about. Let's hope they all have a very safe and successful show and safe travels back as well.
a couple things on that real quick. If I was a country like Saudi Arabia that's paying millions of dollars for these guys to come over, why would you not book them a private jet? I mean,
Yeah,
what's that really going to cost them? Nothing. You know, you,
right.
you probably need two jets, but whatever. All right. Second of all, I did catch a glimpse of Dom Mysterio being stripped of his title. Did you hear anything about that?
No, I didn't. I didn't even catch that. Did I
Oh
miss
yeah,
it?
I didn't read it, but I caught a glimpse of it. So I don't know
I'm
if
out
that's
to.
true or not. I guess we'll find out Friday night.
Yeah, I'm gonna go look into that. Speaking of, you asked the question, why don't they give the guys a private jet? Well, let me remind you, the last time the boys, the talent, had a private jet, I think it was during a European tour. That's when the plane ride from hell happened. Oh,
Yeah, that was coming from South Korea. Well, I suppose it's a pretty similar situation, I guess. Um, plus I think they've learned their lesson from that, to be honest. Oh, hey, another thing is apparently JR is cancer free.
oh, that's awesome. That's awesome news. 100% awesome news. Glad to hear that. Looking forward to hopefully seeing JR calling a match or two here in the very near future. Going back to playing Ride from Hell, yeah, you're right. You don't have Ric Flair there anymore, and that caliber of guys that would drink the way those boys were drinking, those men were drinking
Yeah,
on
yeah.
that. But
Yeah,
anyway,
no, it's
all
a
right,
different mentality. You're talking late '80s versus or early
right,
'90s versus, that's 30
right.
years ago, and
Yep,
you know, and I think WWE has a pretty strict policy about misbehaving
right.
like that.
Yep, I
So,
100% agree with that. But like I said, that was our recap of Dynamite. Tomorrow, I will have Hollywood. She's from Glow, Garcias of Wrestling on the podcast. Don't miss that. Go back and watch my interview with Sunny, the original Sunny, the California girl. That was such an incredible interview. She's been through a lot. She has been able to overcome a lot. Very fascinating interview with Sunny. So check that out, guys. I have that published as well. Until then, we will be back on Sunday, possibly to do the recap of Night of Champions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably. Yeah, you know.
So catch us
Um,
on Sunday to do that. I will drop the time that we're going to be doing this on my social media page. You can find me, KG Landry, on Facebook.
yeah, we
What you
really
got?
plan out these these shows. Yeah, we'll be back Sunday sometime, maybe. If not, we'll be back on Tuesday. Yeah.
No, I, I, I,
Yeah.
I try to be pretty good at planning them. I've just been having a really busy time in the past few weeks, especially with the podcast and stuff. So we'll be back on Sunday to do the recap of Night of Champions. Don't forget to check us out on Tuesday as we do a recap of Monday Night Raw. Until then, enjoy your upcoming weekend. Mark, what do you got to say?
Just get your bell rung.
Get your bell rung, everybody. Please subscribe. Have a good one.